Well, welcome to another Friday night. We've started a little series around anger, and to me, it's such an important topic for people from complex trauma because for many, it's a lot bigger issue than they're aware of. Many aren't even aware of their anger because they've repressed it for so long. And so, what I'd like to do today is look at the little you, what they went through. And hopefully, as I describe what that little you went through, it'll help you get in touch with some of your anger. And I'm not doing this in order for you to just go around angry with no way to resolve it. All of this is leading to I can't resolve anger until I'm aware of anger. I can't change something when it's in my subconscious. It's got to be brought to the conscious. Then I can understand it. Then I can begin to figure out what tools I need to use to resolve it. So all of this is just an attempt to take deeply repressed anger and bring it to the conscious level so that you can now heal it, so that you can now begin to grow. So when you look at anger, think of it in two types. You think of a volcano where you got lava and then you've got the eruption. And so a lot of people, when they think of anger, think of the eruption only. But what I want you to realize is for most people with complex trauma, they've got this layer of lava, this repressed anger that's been there for years that they're not even aware of. And so they just want to get tools to stop eruptions. And what I want them to realize is you can't stop eruptions unless you start to reduce the lava, heal the lava. And so you can't heal the lava unless you become aware of the lava, unless you become aware of how to heal the lava and begin to reduce it. And that's really what we want to do. So remember again that anger was a very healthy tool. It should be a healthy tool that alerts us to I'm not safe or love is being violated. My needs aren't being met. Somebody is neglecting me, abusing me, disrespecting me, etc. And so what I want to do is kind of get you to go back to little you and let's go through different scenarios where love was violated in your life, where your needs weren't met, where you weren't safe, so that I hope you will be able to get in touch with the lava that's deep down there and begin to understand what that little child was experiencing and was repressing so that we can help that little child heal. Because the little child had to do that repressing work to survive, but that is messing up their adult life now. So we want to go back and help that little child and go, what happened to you was wrong. You were right to be angry. Let's learn how to meet that need now. Let's learn how to protect you now. Let's learn how to love you now. That's where we're going. So, what is a violation of love? Disrespect, being invalidated. So think of many children in complex trauma. What was their daily experience? They were talked down to. They were ignored. Their experience and pain was minimized. They were blamed. Life wasn't fair for them. They were made fun of and teased. They were constantly put down with little shots, little put downs, called hurtful names, talked to in a patronizing way. All of that's disrespect. And that happened thousands of times. That happened every day. Now, if I can just get you to stop and try to go back to memories of that, what should happen is you'll start to feel some anger. Now, your immediate response will be to want to shut that down, but just sit with it, explore it, listen to that child and what they were feeling and help them there. So that's the first one. So the second thing I want you to see with this is what causes anger to leak out today in adult life is as soon as somebody disrespects you, they don't listen to you, they treat you as if you're stupid, they don't value your opinion. they talk down to you, that can cause an explosion. And so one of your powerful triggers today of anger can be it touches the lava from childhood, the disrespect that you experienced. But let me take that farther. So disrespect is basically saying to the child, you're not good enough. You're not worth giving attention to. You're not worth seeing or understanding or listening to. You're stupid. All of those are shame messages. And the child begins to develop a shame belief that it's my fault. I guess I am not good enough. That then causes anger to go in two directions. I'm angry at the people that have disrespected me, but now I'm angry at myself because I hate who I am because I don't think I'm good enough. They don't know it's based on a lie. They think it's the truth. And so now they've got double anger, anger outward and anger inward. And so some of you can get in touch with that little child and the anger they felt towards themselves, that they weren't good enough. Let me take you to the next one. Unfairness, injustice. So what happens for many children in complex trauma? They grow up with parents who are hypocrites. They say one thing and do another. That creates anger. They grow up with double standard, where there's one set of rules for mom and dad, there's a different set of rules for the kids. Dad can be angry, the kids can't. Dad can be disrespectful, the kids can't. That creates anger. And then they get blamed for stuff and told that problems in the family are their fault and they didn't do anything wrong. That creates anger. And then they can grow up in a culture where there's racism. Then the judicial system doesn't do anything about it. And that creates anger. Then they can be in all kinds of institutions, not just in their home, where there's an abuse of authority. Those who are the bosses are abusing that authority. Or they're getting bullied at school, or one child in the family is getting special treatment and they're not. So there's a favorite, there's a pet. And then they can see others being treated unfairly and nobody doing anything about it. And all of that injustice just creates this boiling anger inside of them. And so some of you might be getting in touch with that feeling of anger that you experienced thousands of times as a child. Connected to that is anger that comes out of powerlessness. So you see all this injustice, you see this disrespect, you see that you're being neglected and abused, your needs aren't being met, and you can't do a thing about it. You're powerless, unable to get your needs met, unable to resolve the problems in your family, unable to protect yourself and stop the hurt and danger. That creates a deep anger when you feel powerlessness. And then think of boundary violations that most kids went through in complex trauma. Whenever a boundary is violated, somebody doesn't respect your no, somebody just barges in on you, that creates anger. And so what happens for a child? Their personal space was invaded all the time. They weren't allowed to have personal space. People read their diaries. People went through their rooms. Somebody continues to push when you said, no, please don't. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do something with you. And the person keeps pushing. Or they're constantly fighting off manipulation attempts by others who are trying to manipulate them to do stuff. People who are guilt tripping them, trying to make them feel obligated to do something. Those are all boundary violations. Those create anger. And then they have boundaries that are inconsistent. So one day, these are the rules. The next day it changes. And then they're getting punished because they didn't follow the new rules. And then the punishment is enforced over the top. It's severe and they haven't really done anything wrong. That creates anger. And then the punishment is enforced differently for their children, and that's not fair. And so it's like, whoa, anger connected to boundary violations. Then there's another one that is so common, and it's lack of connection. So when a child is struggling, a child has a need, a child every day just to fill their tanks, to feel love, wants to connect. They need to connect at an emotional level, that to be safe, to be heard, to be seen, to be understood, to be able to talk about everything in their world. So what happens when they try to do that and the parents are too busy? The parents are unavailable. The parents are preoccupied. The parents just want to fix them but not really empathize with them. The parents refuse to talk about it. The parents just judge them. So they don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They just get told to behave a certain way. That creates so much anger. And some of you can relate to that one. All of that, when you can't connect, when you feel disrespected, you feel unloved, you feel abandoned, that nobody's there for me, you feel rejection, you feel all alone in the world. And that creates a ton of anger, both outward and at yourself. Some of you can relate to that. Then betrayal that takes place in complex trauma families. So promise is broken. You begin to find out that love isn't conditional in this family. You got to earn it. You got to conform to what people want. You can't be authentic. You've got people that are two-faced. They say nice things to you and then they stab you in the back or say unkind things behind your back. Or they abandon you in times of crisis. They're fair weather friends, or there's secrets that you have to protect. And it's just like betrayal, betrayal, betrayal. That creates huge anger. And then being tightly controlled, not given autonomy. So a child gradually goes from total dependence on parents, where the parents make all their decisions, to be given more and more autonomy, where they make more and more decisions for themselves and make choices about what they want to wear, what they want to do, all kinds of different things about their free time and what they buy, etc. But if a child is controlled, where they're not allowed to make decisions, where they're constantly told what they have to do, decisions are made for them, where they try to argue and they never win in an argument, they're always cornered, nobody listens to them, that creates a whole bunch of anger. And again, some of you can relate to that. Now there's another couple that I think are important to understand. And that is when you look at grief and hurt. So grief and hurt. So we're not just talking about suppressing anger now. We're talking about suppressing grief and hurt. Grief and hurt, as the brain responds to them, as the nervous system responds to loss and being hurt, it goes through an anger stage. What happened isn't fair, isn't right. And I get angry, and that's part of the grieving process. That's part of the resolving hurt process. But what happens if you weren't allowed to grieve? What happens if you weren't allowed to process your hurts? You were told to get over it. When you have to repress them, it just adds to the anger, because the anger isn't allowed to help you resolve the problem. And so what happens for many people in complex trauma, there's all kinds of losses they weren't allowed to deal with. There's all kinds of hurts they weren't allowed to deal with. There's all kinds of fear they weren't allowed to deal with. And it got repressed, but that then becomes anger as part of that. And anger is just growing. And then think of another thing. When a person is stressed, when the stress system is activated, you go out of the ventral vagal state into your sympathetic vagal state. And that usually includes an anger, because anger gives you extra energy to fight or flight. And so if a child is in danger all the time, where their needs aren't being met, they're being neglected, they're being abused, all of that is going on, their stress system's activated. What's part of that? There's anger to give them energy, but they're not able to resolve anything. So now you've got more anger happening in this child. Wow, I hope you're beginning to see that most children with complex trauma They had legitimate anger every day, many times every day, and they had to repress it. But it was a lot of anger. Let me just add one final thing. What happens to many children in complex trauma is they're dealing with all of this stuff. They're getting hurt, they're getting abused, they're getting neglected, they're disrespected, shame, etc. They've got all kinds of events in their life where they've been hurt and it was never owned by the other person. It was never repaired. So there's rupture, 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 and no repair. Now they're going to start getting flashbacks. They're going to have memories. They're going to have dreams about it. They're going to have nightmares. They're going to have emotional flashbacks. Sights and sounds and smells are going to bring back things. Each time it's going to bring new doses of anger. So for some of you, this has probably been a heavy talk because it's maybe got you in touch for the first time with little you and some of the anger that was building and had to be repressed. We're going to get to tools in a few talks, but I really hope you're able to have a safe person, a therapist, that you can start to talk and explore this with in a compassionate setting, a safe setting, so that you can start to heal some of that anger, that lava.